Okay, so today's topic is definitely not a fan favorite, but it is necessary, and it's going to trigger a lot of people in a lot of different ways, depending on who you are and what position you're in. But you know, it all is kind of aligning with what I'm currently experiencing as I am getting closer to really like manifesting what I want and like stepping into this new timeline, which I've already stepped into, but again, there's still like, there's still remnants of the old one that it's like that have to kind of come back in as like a test to see if you're really truly ready. Like, are you going to, did you understand the lesson, and are you going to apply it to your life, basically is what's happening. But um, so, and what I will say is what's cool is when you start getting these tests that are like back to back to back, it just means that you are that much closer to finally manifesting what you've been working towards and what you want, and what you deserve. So, okay. I'd say for like the last week, strangely, I've been getting, not strangely, but it's interesting. It always is. I've been getting messages from people that I have not heard from in a while, from all different areas of my life, my past life. Like one from like an old friend, like a friend that I have a long history with, one from an old kind of like romantic interest that, again, long history with. And then the other two were more like work. They were work related, but ultimately what I know is that they were interested in more than work stuff. So yeah, so like over the last week, once a day for like those 4 days from those four different people, somebody would text me or reach out to me. And I think it started with the friend, and then it was the romantic interest, and then it was one of the work guys, and then another work guy. Anyways, of course, like in my mind, I've already like made peace. Not just made peace, I'd already decided and recognized that like these people are not meant for me. They are not like a part of my path, a part of my future life, my future timeline. Which, let me see, I'm trying to figure out how to get into this because I didn't know if I was actually going to post this. So, like one of them I'd cut off, like in my mind and in my heart and everything, like last year, or yeah, earlier this year. The other one I had been distancing myself from, honestly, for years, but I just kept allowing this female, to come back into my life, the friend, even though she had crossed my boundaries so many times, just completely disrespecting me because of her own issues, that I'm not going to get into like the specifics of these people. Ultimately though, so I'm sitting here, and this one guy, from the one of the work guys, I'm pretty sure it's the same one. He reached out to me on Instagram, and I didn't respond because like I can just tell at this point, like I know what I want, and I know what I want, and I know what that is going to look like. I know what that's going to feel like, especially. So when you get kind of like a half-assed, like, hi, Katie, like either just that or like hey, I'm going to be here at this time for this date, like that kind of stuff. Like, no. Especially when it's like, I haven't heard from this person. I couldn't even tell you the last time I'd heard from him. So anyways, whatever, even though I've been posting this stuff publicly, the interesting thing is that if any of them had actually like seen that stuff and recognized it for what it was, they probably wouldn't have reached out to me. So all more clues as to like recognizing the people who are for you and aren't for you. But anyways, okay, so I wake up this morning, and of course I'm waiting to receive something, a message, communication, etc., from my person, my divine counterpart, and and whatever else, what other beautiful gifts and offers that the divine has for me. So when I wake up this morning and see a text from that one work guy, where like, again, I was like, honestly couldn't even like remember if it was him, because like that's how like not like involved that we are, you know? So anyways, and all it said was, "Hi, Katie." Like, what? Yeah. And the reason why that's frustrating, or not frustrating, well, it is frustrating, but the reason why that's annoying and why that's such a test for me is because in the past, somebody might reach out to me like that, like out of nowhere, out of the blue, and then be like, "Hi, Katie," and that's all they give me. And then I'm the one who would overgive, overshare, and be like, "Hey, how are you? Oh my God, it's been so long." Da 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 da. You know, like giving all this energy out, and then getting literally nothing like that in response. All they're just wanting is, you know, whatever they're wanting, their own little pick me up, their own little, you know, whatever. I was gonna say pleasure treasure or pleasure excursion or whatever you want to call it. It's not always sex, guys, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're looking for something, and they know that I have the potential to give them what they want. And again, to be fair, that's how I used to operate. So I do understand why they might think that they can just kind of pop in whenever and do that. But like, I'm not playing those games anymore. I've cut that shit out, which is what I'm kind of leading up to. So, you know, so that happened this morning. And of course, I'm like, I tried to go to tarot, and they wouldn't give me clear answers. They actually gave me really confusing answers. Like, but again, I trust it all has to happen in this way in order for me to really just like trust myself, trust what I know I want, what I know I need, and what I know I deserve, and to not, you know, to prove that I've learned the lesson and that I am applying it, and that I'm not going to settle or sacrifice or allow this kind of stuff to keep coming into my life. Show them that I'm ready for what I've been wanting and asking for. Whew, yeah. You'll understand why I'm all like kind of fiery right now too once I get into this. But so I'm like sitting here, and I really wasn't like planning on like posting anything or recording anything, because I just didn't have like the inspiration for it. And again, I don't want to force something that's not there. So but like, as I'm like, you know, reflecting on this person who reached out and all the other people who've reached out this week alone, okay, mind you, I've had total radio silence from myself and from so many people for months now, because that's how long ago that I cut people out and off, you know. And so then all of a sudden, within a week, 4 different people reach out to me, which also is just a sign of like how magnetic my energy is too, which is also really just beautiful and amazing. But it was also interesting to see that it was like friend, romantic interest, and like work-ish interest, where I've had issues with guys working with me and wanting more than just a coworker or a friend. So yeah, so I'm like sitting here earlier, and I was just like reflecting on that, reflecting on like the friendship situation, and I was getting a little like fired up. It's like, no guys, like I'm done. Like, do the work. Recognize, like, if I'm not responding, there's a reason. And why that's, and I know that might sound harsh, but why that's so important for me is that, like, and I've done this before with a lot of these people, honest to God, it's like where, especially the ones where I knew I wanted to cut them off, or get them out of my life, I would continuously try to like give them, drop seeds, or honestly just distance myself completely, but they'd still keep coming back. And really, all it would take is me just responding once. It didn't matter what I said, as long as I responded, they would just like, you know, they would try and like deny anything, or they'd try to make it seem like they were like on board and they were gonna like you know, respect what I was saying and not admire, but like acknowledge it, and like, you know, try to, like I said, respect my boundaries, you know. And that just never happened. All it did was just it was just giving them an opportunity to try and convince me that like, that they're gonna do it. 2 butterflies have just flown past me. That they're gonna change, and they were gonna, like, you know, make the changes because they care about this relationship and me and whatever. But anyway, so it led to this whole like this episode idea of like having to be like being the villain, and tough love, and like protecting your peace, your self-cultivated, well-earned, well-deserved peace, and then just like staying strong. And at first I just had like the title, and I went inside for a bit, and I just started thinking about like the Queen of Swords and like what the Queen of Swords like represents. And I think I'm just going to kind of read what I wrote again, but you'll understand what I mean by the Queen of Swords, you know. If you already know about the Queen of Swords, you might already know, but yeah. So yeah, okay, let me just get into it. So Queen of Swords, the boundary queen, a badass bitch, not because she enjoys being a bitch, but because she has to sometimes. She has too much self-respect, which she has cultivated on her own, to put up with anyone or anything that tries to take her peace, and or tries to manipulate or control her. She's learned that she needs to protect her heart at all costs from anyone who doesn't come correct, who hasn't done the work on themselves and is just looking for like a free meal or a free pick-me-up. And sometimes for the very persistent, that means she has to be a bit cold and just shut people out completely because they've crossed her boundaries time after time. So she's learned that you just have to cut some people off, period. They disrespect her because they don't respect themselves, which hurts her heart to see. But she knows that it's not her responsibility to help them see their worth, especially after she's tried to for so long. That's their choice and their responsibility, and the responsibility falls solely on them, period. So again, it's not that she wants to cut them off or that she finds pleasure in cutting them off. She's just learned how to value and love and respect herself, and how hard fought it was to get there, that she is unapologetically protective over it. And only those who have truly done the work would understand and respect that. Again, she's done being anyone's savior because she knows that she can't save them. Only they can save themselves. And you better trust and believe that she has dropped seeds about it. But in their mind, why plant the seeds and nourish and grow their own garden and spend all that time and energy doing it if they've already found an abundant, gorgeous, lushly cultivated garden that they can just pick and steal from? And believe me, they will. They will, until that garden is completely dead and bare. And even then, they'll still come back and try to squeeze whatever bit of juice they can from any remnants they find. It really and truly sucks to have to witness and experience that. But again, it's not my fault. And it's not my responsibility to support you. I kind of started switching into my own stuff, especially in that way. If I manage to go through and sift through my own darkness, my own shit, and find my inner light and abundance, then you can too. You must find the strength to feed yourself, or else one day you will truly starve. Yeah, because before you know it, no one's garden is open any longer, open to you any longer. And even worse, they've moved and hidden it so far away that you'll never be able to find it. So all you're left with is this barren wasteland to wander alone. And that is until you finally realize that you have to grow your own garden to survive. So why wait until every garden has disappeared? Why don't you start finding that's the space? Start tilling the land to plant and nourish the seeds now while you still have access to a garden or two. That way, you're not starting from rock bottom. You're finally cultivating your own fruit and garden, which brings so much self-love and self-respect, all while you still have access to a garden that's willing to share. And not because they feel obligated to, but because they're proud that you finally started to work on your own. As the saying goes, God helps those who help themselves. That's not to say God will abandon you if you don't. You just won't be able to recognize God's help if you're too caught up and blind to the offers that are being made. And that's what happens when you allow your darkness to consume you. You've denied every glimmer of light that comes from within you because you're too busy looking out and around you for someone else's. Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, but it's also one that can be broken. You just have to stop for a minute and look down and within, and that's all it takes. Just that one moment to recognize that the glimmer you seek is already within you and is all you need to spark a massive flame that is eternal and inextinguishable. That, my loves, is true fucking power. Yeah. As you might be able to tell from that, I got me a little fired up, and but it was good. It's all for the best, you know. Like, even my face is like has been feeling extra like flush since like having these thoughts and writing them down, you know. And I know it might be easy for me to like think like, oh, I'm just being too harsh, too aggressive, too whatever, cold, ironically. But what I know and what's really cool is that like because of this, I know that is literally like my body's way of burning this stuff out of my body, out of my face, out of my mind, everywhere, you know. So again, it's all aligned with this whole ascension process and everything. But yeah, I mean, you know, I never identified with being a villain. You know, it was always like unconditional love, wanting to help, wanting to support, wanting to be that light, that hope, that guide, that inspiration for everybody around me. But like when you are that kind of person, sometimes, especially if you really want to like level up and like start living the life of your dreams, you got to be that villain. And you got to be okay with being that villain. Knowing that like sometimes tough love is what's needed for certain people. And sometimes that tough love comes in the form of just cutting people off completely. Because if you witnessed how like every time you give them literally like a fucking millimeter, okay? A millimeter of your energy, they take 5,000 miles. Okay, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So like they will literally latch on with like with every ounce of their being, trying to keep you there, trying to keep you to stay, because it's so much easier for them to just feed off of you and feed off of your light and your energy that you have cultivated on your own, rather than finding it within themselves, which they can, and it exists. Like, they wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case, you know? So, you know, like I said, I just felt like I needed to record this and you know, ultimately post it. And for anybody out there who's kind of going through this and just feeling like, you know, like you don't want to be mean, and you don't want to like leave anybody out, because again, that's who I always was. Like I never wanted anybody to feel left out or alone or unseen or unheard, you know. But and that was I mean, that's my essence, you know. And it was good for me to like know that, to do that when I was younger. But now that I'm stepping into this like new level, new era, new energy, this higher power, higher frequency, knowing everything that I have attracted and gone through in the past, that I've had to deal with in the past, I have to cut it off, I guess, is what I'm getting at. You know, like I can't allow it anymore in my life. And I won't allow it anymore in my life, because again, if you keep trying to set boundaries, that's something that I used to like struggle with so hard. So this is also why it feels a little uncomfortable, because I'm still like getting used to not only having these boundaries, but like having to set them. And sometimes in a way that isn't how I would like to. because I would love to be able to like have conversations and be like, hey, so like this is what's going on, you know, and this is how this makes me feel. And honestly, I just don't feel comfortable around you anymore. I don't feel like I can trust you, and I don't feel like you have my best interest at heart, you know? And again, I have taken that approach with some people, and it can work. So I highly encourage that if you think that that's the right route. But be prepared, if this is somebody that you have tried setting boundaries with time and time again, and again, it might be okay for like the night or the day or the week or whatever, but then they just go back to doing exactly what they were doing before. Mm-mm. that's that's somebody who literally, that's they're just trying to keep you around for as long as they can, you know? And again, a lot of times it tends to happen with those people that you have a lot of history with, where you have good memories with, where you've had fun with, and like you do care about them, you know? But again, if they're unwilling to do the work themselves, after so many times and so many seeds that have been dropped, like to help them get there, at some point you've got to cut it off. Because what happens when well, they're just taking you down, they're just draining you, which leaves you little time and energy to actually focus on what you need to focus on. But then what happens when you level up and life is getting really good, and then they just want to come along for the ride, just basically, yeah, feeding off of everything that you have earned and cultivated on your own. I mean, at least for me, I'm not doing it. And I know that like that is what the universe is wanting for me, because of giving people the benefit of the doubt, giving them time and time again, chance after chance to come correct, to reciprocate and treat me the way that I deserve, and to at least give me a smidge, if not equal, reciprocal energy and value back. You know what I'm saying? Like, because a lot of times I'm giving them like nuggets of like insight, wisdom. I'm literally giving them cheat codes for them to get to this place where I am at. But they don't want that. They don't want the cheat codes. They just want the reward. They want the glory and like all the stuff that comes with it. They don't actually want to do the work. And that reminds me of like this quote. I don't know if it's a quote, but it's just something I've heard before in some readings, where they're like, you know, it's like, I guess it's called destiny swapping or whatever. And again, I don't really pay mind to a lot of that stuff, because like nobody's going to penetrate this shit ever, period. But the point being, it's so interesting because it's like there's people who like, maybe once you've reached a certain level, or just you being who you are, there's people who want to try and like, you know, do what you're doing or become you, in essence, in the sense of, you know, they want what they perceive as like gold or a reward or whatever, you know. Sorry, I'm kind of like, anyways, let me just get to it. So it's like, if you really want to swap with me, then you have to go into the darkness. You have to go into the trenches. You have to go through every single thing that I have been through in order to get yourself to this place. And believe me, you don't want that. You do not want that. And that's why you are where you are, because you're unwilling to do it, because you know it's not easy. You know it's scary. You know it's painful. And yeah. So hold on. Hey, I'm recording something, sorry. Oh, okay. It's fine. I was gonna come in, but thank you. Okay. Sorry, interruption. But I don't remember where I was. So disconnect from all that shit. Disconnect. Yeah, basically you don't want to go through that, because okay, sorry, little interruption. trying to remember where I was. Yeah, the only way you're going to get to this place is by digging in and getting dirty and doing the work, you know, within yourself. Oh, my face is all flushed right now again. And again, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy, it takes honesty, it takes awareness, and it takes the willingness to actually go out there and do it. Courage, strength, it takes a lot, but it is possible, because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And there's so many other people out there doing this exact same thing. They would not be there either. So, you know, don't lie to yourself. Don't delude yourself into thinking that like it's not possible for you. You're just not willing to actually do anything about it. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I don't want to ramble. And it was just 2552 mirrored numbers. And yeah, like I said, if you're in this situation where you're having to cut a lot of people off, or you just know that like there's people, places, situations that are not aligned with where you're headed, I'm just hoping that this will give you a little strength, a little courage, and even permission to be the villain. Be that Queen of Swords, okay? Like, cut that shit out and protect your peace. So yeah, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay strong, keep holding on, and you will get to the other side.